Welcome to the Leading Conversations podcast, sponsored by the Excel Leadership Network. On each episode, JD Pairing will have conversations with church planting pastors and leaders from around the country. You can learn more about how to connect with Excel at the end of this podcast. Let's join JD now and listen in on this leading conversation.
Welcome to another Leading Conversations podcast with Excel Leadership Network. And today we are thrilled to have TJ and Jess McCall with us from Buckeye, Arizona. You in Buckeye, Arizona today?
We are.
Heading to Palm Springs momentarily. So how are you guys doing?
We're doing really good. Yeah. We're excited. It's a fun season.
Yeah, it is.
Is it warm in Buckeye right now?
No, well, not for us. It's like 67 and cloudy, and went for a walk this morning and wished I had remembered a jacket.
What happened to the Phoenix area? What happened?
I don't know. We're waiting for like our spring to get here, where it's normally like 80 or high 70s, and it's just not coming this year. We had 2 days of it, which was like a little spoiler teaser, and I was like, yes, it's finally here. And then the cold weather came back. And again, cold is like 60. So I'm sure to a lot of people that would be a warm day, but not for me.
But yeah, that's cold in Arizona.
It is cold, yes.
I think all the spring training teams are ready to pack up and head back home because it'll be better wherever they're going.
Yeah.
Well, not here. I'm in Northern Cal and it is raining again.
Oh.
I think we're going to do a series on Noah here at our church. It's been crazy. Hey, let's just start. Tell us your story growing up. Tell us how each of you came to Christ.
Yeah, so I grew up in a family that went to church sometimes, but we were at an interesting church. It really impacted my view of Christ right from the beginning. I was at this church from preschool through the end of high school, and I don't ever remember hearing the gospel there. I never heard, Jesus died for you, God will forgive you, God loves you. I never heard any of that. All we heard was the do's and the don'ts. And there was a verse in the lobby of the church that said, be sure your sins will find you out. And so as you entered into the sanctuary, that's the message that they wanted you to get. Mm-hmm. And so I grew up afraid of God. I hated God. I hated church. I didn't want anything to do with Christianity. I went to a Catholic high school and kind of experienced, the legalism and nominalism there as well.
Can I ask which Catholic high school did you go to? I
was at Palma High School in Salinas.
Okay.
Yeah, so really good school.
I don't think we played you guys in baseball or football or anything.
Yeah, probably at some point. Yeah, so I wanted nothing to do with Christianity, but I always had this pull in my heart that I needed truth, and I was always drawn to religion. And so my junior year of high school, we took a religions of the world class, and we studied all the major religions for 3 weeks. And I took that study seriously. I wanted to find the truth. And not only in the class, but I'd go and I'd study documents and go to the mosque or the temple and talk to the clergy or whatever it was I could find. I was on my search, but it kept coming back to the same thing. Keep the 10 commandments or the 7 sacraments or the 5 pillars or the 8-fold path, and you'll earn whatever it is you're trying to earn. But I knew that I could never do that. I knew my heart. I knew that I could never do enough good to make up for my bad. And so I just walked away from religion. I settled on the teaching of Karl Marx, and religion is made to suppress and control the people. I had a friend who went to the Church of Satan, Timothy LaVey, out of San Francisco, and started to get involved with that just because there was some kind of like religion and power to it. And then God used baseball. I told him, I was on this team. We were 0-16, came to our last game, said, hey, if we win this game, I'll go to church tomorrow. And came up in the last inning and knocked in the tying run, stole a couple bases, scored on a pass ball, won the game. And about 11:30 that night, I remembered, oh no, I have to go to church now. So went to church, and some friends from Awana when I was a kid invited me to youth group. Was not interested, but they said, we're playing softball and there's pizza. And I was like, oh, I can show these church kids how to hit a ball and eat some pizza. I'm good to do that. Started going, but it was the same thing I grew up with, no gospel, until we went to a snow camp and had a guest speaker. I just went to snowboard and, again, eat pizza. But there was a guest speaker, and it was the first time I ever heard the gospel. And when he shared that Jesus is the truth, that he has accomplished everything you need, and God will forgive you when you put your faith in him because of who he is and what he's done. It all just clicked with everything I'd been searching for, everything God had been doing in me. And I jumped out of my seat even before they give an invitation because I didn't know what was going on. Really embarrassed myself, but gave everything to Jesus that night, and everything changed right from there. It was a drastic change from that moment. It was cool, exciting.
You really put some thought into it.
I did. I was searching.
And if you would have got thrown out at third, you wouldn't be planting a church today.
Probably, yeah. Good thing the catcher didn't have a better arm.
If you guys were 0-16, I don't think we played you.
Nah, that was one of the travel teams I was on.
Okay. What about you, Jess?
Yeah, so I grew up in a home where we always went to church. I mean, off and on, but most of the time we were in church. I never remember a time where I didn't believe in God. I always believed the Bible was true. I knew that Jesus died for me. But once I got into middle school, really high school, I didn't walk out my faith. There's nothing different about me or anything. And I thought going to church was just, or being a Christian was just going to church on Sundays. And I tried to get out of it as much as I could. But in my senior year of high school, I switched churches and I started going to a different church, to their college group on Sunday nights. And it was through that youth pastor that I started hearing messages that really started to speak to me. And I realized that being a Christian wasn't just going to church on Sundays. Like, having this relationship with Jesus was something so much more than just being bored sitting at church. And then my life was going to look different if I was truly a follower of Jesus. And so it was through that God just started working. The Holy Spirit started working in my life. We started witnessing, sharing the good news of Jesus with other people. Things in my life personally started changing. And it was probably about a year later, God really just got a hold of my heart, and which is this burden to go into ministry and to be a youth pastor's wife.
Well, that's cool. How did you two meet?
So about 3 months before the church I was going to with my parents, the one that I was bored at and tried to get out of as much as I can, about 3 months before they hired TJ, I had started praying that God would, that I would marry a youth pastor. And so I was praying that just regularly. And then 3 months later, the church I grew up in hired him as associate youth pastor. And so I saw him preach for his candidating sermon. So he was up there preaching, and I remember sitting in the congregation, and I just told God, I was like, God, that's the type of person I want to marry. I want to marry a guy that's on fire for God, can preach the word and get me excited about my faith. And I was like, I know I'm not good enough to deserve like a pastor like that or someone that preaches like that, but just someone like that. Can you bring me someone like that? But then after they hired him, we just started to get to know each other through Bible studies. And
one of my jobs was to start a college ministry at this church. And there was only one college student at the time.
It was me.
So I smoothly asked her to Taco Bell to go talk about the college ministry that we were going to start. And it just went from there.
Yeah.
Big spender, huh?
Yeah. It was her favorite.
It was my favorite. And I remember asking him, I didn't know he was like on a super tight budget. I came from a family where money wasn't a problem, and I didn't know what it was going to be like living on a pastor's budget. But yeah, I remember asking, like, can I get one more thing? Can I get one more thing? Like on that first date.
As I'm pulling cash out of an envelope, and counting every dollar I have.
And Jess had never been to Taco Bell before. Well, that's cool. So, and you were already in ministry. Talk about your kind of call to ministry, TJ.
Yeah. So it was February of my senior year of high school when I went to that snow camp and followed Jesus. And everything began to just drastically change at that time. My language, entertainment, definitely music. And I changed so much that my friends stopped hanging out with me. So I graduated high school with really one friend that was still kind of hanging in there with me. I wasn't ready for the church kids yet. But so that summer I had a job. I was set to go study architecture and play baseball. That was my goal in life. I wanted to be rich and famous and get my name on a baseball card. And I was on track to do that. But halfway through the summer, I decided that I wanted to know God more. So I quit my job and sold all my CDs and bought a Bible, my first Bible. And I took 6 weeks and read through the Bible and all the study notes, just laying out in the backyard on my parents' trampoline, and just taking notes like crazy. And just got so excited about Jesus. I had to tell everybody about everything I was reading and learning. And so I went to my pastor and I told him, I don't think God wants me to just live my life to be rich and famous and for me anymore. I don't know what to do with my life, but I don't think that's it. He said, well, go to a Bible college and you can get there and figure it out. And I didn't know what a Bible college was. So they sent me off to the only Bible college that there is, according to that church. It was a big culture shock. I got there, but within 2 weeks, I found out that there was this job you could have where you get to study the Bible and tell people about Jesus, like full time, and get paid for it. I was like, what is this? And I was going into ministry, being a pastor. And so I applied, and I think as soon as they saw, even though I didn't know anything at all, I couldn't even find Matthew in my Bible, but I had such a fire and excitement for what I was learning that they put me in the program. And and I just knew that that's exactly what I was going to do with my life.
And then you got a youth pastor job and took the whole youth group out to Taco Bell. When was this?
We did do Taco Bell trips. We played basketball in the park and went to Taco Bell. Yeah. Yeah. So, then I was an associate pastor, youth pastor at that church for about a year, 6 years at another church. And we helped with a church plant and interim pastor and then lead pastor for 10 years. And full circle back to church planting. Talk about how you just came to church planting the first time. Yeah. So we were at a church in Fontana and doing ministry there, doing student ministry. God started up like a young adult ministry. We weren't expecting, we started to roll with that, but we were living 25 minutes away from the church. And so it was a long drive. So we started doing a Bible study in our house for some of the parents of the youth and also for the young adults that were there. And as we started doing that, talked with the church about, hey, could we do this on Sunday mornings and just start preaching the word out here? And so we rented the community center in our apartment building and invited people to that and worked with, at the time it was CBA SoCal, and started working with them about officially incorporating and all of that. And we did that for about a year and a half. And then we transitioned in ministry. I was teaching in school at the time, but handed that over to the network and they ran with that. But we didn't know anything back then. We were just, hey, this is a Bible study. We could start doing this on Sunday morning. And our church was still paying like 3/4 of my salary and stuff. But it was kind of like a grassroots thing. We had no idea what we were doing back then.
Well, those are the most fun.
It was a lot of fun.
And you started in the apartment complex deal. Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. So why did you leave that?
The sending church was having some issues in it, and out of conscience, we had to kind of transition away from that church. And I went to teaching, and I was teaching and doing the church plant at the time. But that was really hard, just commuting 45 minutes and back and forth and trying to do this on Sundays and evenings. And we also got the call as we were trying to pray about what to do to be an interim pastor in Commerce, and felt that the Lord was opening that door for us. But it was really the stepping away from the sending church or parent church, whatever, that was the difficulty for us with that.
And then you ended up back in Northern Cal, right?
Yeah. I got to go back home and pastor a church in my hometown for 9.5 years.
And is that your hometown too, Jess?
No, I'm from Southern California, in Lancaster in the high desert.
Okay. So TJ, you were working in Lancaster?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. Tell us something good about the high desert.
You're going to have to do that. I met my wife there.
The good thing, it's not too far to drive to places like Santa Clarita, so you can go find decent places to hang out. The sunsets are pretty, and there's pretty mountains in the distance.
Yeah, I was there for about 40 weeks, and I compare it to my, 40 weeks in the wilderness.
That's pretty funny if you say the cool place that we drive to is Santa Clarita.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. So you're back in your hometown is Monterey?
Yes.
Okay. So you're back in Monterey and you pastored there for quite a while.
Yeah.
How was that?
It was good. It was a church revitalization. The church had gone through a couple of splits, a really difficult church discipline process. And so they went from 250 down to 25 in about 2 years. And so we came in and they had a parsonage. So that made, financially feasible for us. And we just started. We had 25 our first Sunday, counting our kids and the people who came to see me preach my first Sunday there. And it was a difficult time in ministry. There were definitely highlight seasons and great seasons, but it was a very difficult place to do ministry, and a difficult church culture for us as well. We never completely meshed with everything that was the desire and the philosophy of ministry and everything there. So it felt like battleground for almost 10 years of doing ministry. It was training grounds for sure.
Yes, it was.
And then where'd you go?
And so when we wrapped up our time there, we had gone through kind of a difficult time of ministry when we transitioned from there.
Are you comfortable talking a little bit about that, how that was?
Sure.
I know you don't have to get into the whole story. I know that was hard, but it's good for other people to hear hard stories from people like you, because they go, oh, it's not just me.
Yes. Well, and honestly, that's what really helped me through that season, was hearing from other pastors, similar stories and similar things they had gone through. And as horrible as it is to know this happens so many times, it helped me know, like, okay, it's not that there's something wrong with us or that we're failures in ministry. This is just unfortunately how it goes sometimes, a lot of times.
Yeah. So there are really two things that led to that season. One was, as I mentioned, kind of the church culture at the time. They really wanted to move in a very militant, I don't want to say legalistic, almost legalistic direction, circle of churches. And we never quite meshed with that. And they ended up appointing elders who were 23, 24 years old. And they were, just out of like addiction recovery and all of that. So they had a very militant personality, and theology became like, you live and die on the theology. And if you don't match up with all 13 pages of our doctrinal statements, then you're a false teacher. Mm-hmm. And as we're trying to, move ministry in one direction and they're trying to pull it in the other, there's just a lot of difficulty for what does ministry look like in a setting where you don't agree philosophically on the core of what they were shooting for. Mm-hmm. And then towards the end of our time there, we had a family member who was living with us. We do foster care. And so we took in a family member kind of as a foster care ministry. And she ended up being a very difficult fit for our family the last year. And we asked her to leave a couple of times, but always like erred on the side of grace and kept her in.
I felt bad.
Yeah, as a family member. But one of the last times when things just got difficult and we asked her to leave, she ended up going to the church leadership and made some accusations against us. And the church culture that they had was kind of a witch hunt mentality. And as soon as they had a crack in what they saw as our testimony, they just went guns blazing. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how much you want me to share. I've talked about it more with you. But our experience there at the end was very difficult, being called into a secret meeting where they had the lights off and, just read us a letter. And it was almost like something you'd see in a creepy movie.
Yeah. And just to have your best friends, people you've been friends with for so long and know you better than anyone, like we're very open to the people we minister to, and to have them just in one day turn completely on us and accuse us of things. It was horrible. It was just a horrible season and very hurtful. And it was hard to have the church do that to us, especially when we pour so much into our ministry.
And that night with that last meeting, the anger, death threats, we got threats in the mail, texts in person that night. It was supernatural. There's no other way that I can explain it.
Yeah.
That's a great, that's a great plug for church planting. Because when you try when you go into a church plant, you go in with nothing. But when you try to turn a church around, sometimes they literally want to kill you. And
Mhm.
and you're starting kind of a new church on the side in there, but the other people are after you. So I'm sorry that happened to you. Sometimes it's good for us to go through crap like that because God's doing other stuff. But so from there, you ended up going. Where did you go? You first returned my call. What was the name of the town?
Paducah, Kentucky.
Yeah, Paducah. I'm like, Paducah. Who is calling from Paducah, Kentucky?
Yeah. We went through a 6-month transition after leaving the church in Monterey, and really praying about, we didn't even know if we were going to be in ministry because it was that difficult and so hard on our family. It hit close to home with it being a family member and all of that. But during that season, 2 things happened. One, God rekindled my passion for him. I had become a little mechanical and superficial in the last couple of years of my ministry there, just, with everything we were going through, and just kind of, it became dry in my heart. And so that season where we had to really depend on him, God just lit me on fire again, and went back to those early days of getting excited about Jesus. So that was one thing. And the other thing was, because of that, we wanted to go back to ministry that was fun. Yeah. I didn't want to be in the lead chair again. I had, at the time, I said, ever again. I'll let someone else sit in that spot, and I'll just be their cheerleader and biggest supporter, be what I wish I had in that season, and go have fun in ministry. And for us, that was children's and student ministry. So we changed scene. We went to Kentucky, very intentional change. Awesome little town. We love Paducah. But then we got out there and we rebooted their next gen ministry. Started with students and then young adults and then kids ministry, and just had a great time doing that type of ministry.
Yeah, it was fun.
Then you came to Arizona. So you guys have moved around a lot.
Yes. We did. It's been a crazy 5 years. So we ended up coming out to a church here. Same thing. The church here in Arizona was perfect for us. Not only where we can live as a family, but we found leadership we could trust. The executive pastor that was here at the time was the guy I wanted to be under. I felt like he could mentor and develop me. He created a staff culture that was just incredibly healthy and fun in ministry. And I grew more in my year under Jason than I did at any other point in my ministry, including Bible college or anything. Just grew professionally and personally during this season here.
And our kids got to just be in a healthy church, seeing how the church can be and how a good place it can be and a fun place it can be, and without fighting and arguing and stuff. So it was really good for our kids.
Yeah, it was a very intentional, thought out choice for us to come here. It was perfectly what God had for us.
Mm-hmm.
And was church planting always on your minds as going back into that, or how did that happen?
No, not at all.
Okay, I'll start this because it's kind of my fault that we've gotten into this situation. Last January, I started just kind of feeling like we were going through motions in ministry. We were in a very safe, comfortable place, but I didn't feel that God had called me to a safe, comfortable type of ministry. And so I started praying for God I specifically would write, God, use me, God, send me, here I am, your servant's listening. And those were the 3 things I would always pray to see. And in my heart, I didn't want to leave where we were. I just thought in the ministry we were in, he was going to expand it, or he's going to make me step out and do something a little harder. And so it was 10 months of praying that prayer for God just to increase my faith, help me do something harder in ministry and not just go through the motions. And then
Jim Smith, director of TCN in SoCal, called and said, hey, we have an opportunity to launch a new church in Palm Springs, and we'd like for you to do it. And I was like, nope, we're good. We're doing ministry. We're having fun. We love where we are. And not excited about the lead spot, and church planning sounds really hard. I don't want to do mobile church. So told him no and got off the phone. But God began to just really tug at my heart that, hey, I've been preparing you. This could be the season for this. Shared with Jess. We started praying about it. Had to call Jim back the next week and let him know, all right, we're interested in this. What's going on here? And as he explained the opportunity there in Palm Springs, and then we went out and visited and just kind of walked around the city, went to Discovery Center with Excel, saw who we'd be working with. God just really gave us a burden for it. And
I was very skeptical during that whole time, because it was, for me especially, it was scary to step back into that lead pastor role again. So I did a lot of praying that weekend, or that week of Discovery Center, just that God would really make it clear that this was the direction he had for us.
Yeah. So it wasn't on our radar at all. But I like to say that I could say no when Jim called, but I had to say yes when God called, because once he gave us the burden, it was just really clear.
Well, when Jim calls and God calls, aren't those kind of the same thing?
It ended up being that way, and I don't know that I would have said yes to anyone except Jim. So God was definitely using him to call us in that direction.
I was talking with him at that time. He's like, yeah, you know what? There's this guy, TJ in Phoenix. I think he's the guy. I think he should do it. It's like, people don't just automatically say, yeah, I'm going to move. And he's like, no, I think TJ is going to do it. So it was like, that was just, it was kind of interesting how quick that whole thing worked out.
Yeah.
So talk just about what stage you're at right now with this plant.
Yeah. So one of the interesting things about the plant that made a difference for me was not only did the church there in Palm Springs, there was a church there for 60 years and they shut down back in October, and they gave the building to the network. And then that's when Jim called and said, hey, if you start this church, there's a building for you. And that was just an incredible blessing, because like I said, mobile church didn't sound fun to me. So right now, we are traveling from here in Arizona to Palm Springs pretty much 2 out of every 3 weeks, 3 times a month. We're headed out there and getting involved in the community, meeting with a core group of people we call our vision team there. Some people from the church that has shut down and some other people that have trickled into that group. And also just trying to clean out the building and get our arms around all of that. So that's one thing we're doing. And then on the other side, we're fundraising. As we are looking, it's a big step of faith. This is, where that faith versus fear part comes in, and having courage, because stepping out with a family of 8 and saying, all right, God, you got to do this, not only for our family, but also for the ministry that's there, and also for the building that's there. There's a lot involved with that fundraising, and just really stepping out in faith, knowing that God's going to bring revival in Palm Springs, and we're going to be at the center of it. So we're just jumping in with both feet.
Yeah.
So if somebody wants to give, we don't normally do this. If somebody wants to give to the Palm Springs ministry, how do they get a hold of you?
The easiest way is across any social media platform. Just look up Palm Springs Church Plant, and the link is right there in all of our profiles. And that's the easiest way to find it. It's all over social medias.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, hey, last question is just each of you give us a leadership tip. What would you say to folks? Just any leadership tip.
Okay. I feel like right now our nation, our generation is just really in need of Christian leaders that aren't afraid to take that step and do the hard things. And I think it can be easy for us to stay in that comfort zone. And so my encouragement would just be like, if God has something on your heart, like, don't be afraid to take that step and to trust him fully and completely with whatever you feel the Holy Spirit's leading you to do, and do that. And the second part with that, and this is kind of preaching to myself right now, because it's what I'm going through, but yes, as leaders, we need to look at the future. We need to have a plan. We need to have a vision, but be careful not to be too focused on the future that it causes extreme anxiety and stress. God's giving us the grace and provision and strength that we need right now for this moment, for today. So when I look to the future, I can get freaked out a little bit, but instead just focus on what he has for you today, what he has for you to do, that next right thing he has for you to do today, and know that he's going to take care of the future. Don't worry about that. And then just be in prayer. That was probably like 3 things, but pray a lot. Prayer is so important, and it has helped me so much.
What caused you to pray, God, I'm ready to do the hard thing? I mean, that's the prayer we avoid. God, I want to do something really easy.
Some days I regret it, but no, I think it's like, so I was getting ready to turn 40, and I don't know, I was just being really introspective, and we had been in ministry for 20 years. And I was just thinking, like, I'm not getting any younger. What's the next 20 years of our ministry going to look like? And they just kind of put this, like, almost like this fear that I was wasting. Like, I've heard stories of people and they see God do amazing things. They see God do miracles. They see God just change lives and I didn't feel like I had seen that. I mean, we've seen God do some cool stuff, but I wanted to see more of God and I wanted to see him working. And I was scared if we stayed in the safe ministry we were in and just kept doing things as we were, I was missing out on my kids seeing that type of faith.
Yeah.
And I was missing out on the blessings God would have for us. And that's when I just started praying that.
Yeah.
Wow. So TJ, your leadership tip.
It sounds strange. And I think previously younger version of me wouldn't have even listened to this. But it's put yourself first. And what I mean by that is not, being selfish and arrogant and self-centered, but you have to take care of yourself first. And I know we hear this in ministry, but so often we ignore it and think that, oh, I can be the exception to that. I can be tough. I can get through it. But you can't serve your family, let alone your ministry and your community, unless you're taking care of yourself. Mm-hmm. And that was a hard lesson I had to learn through ministry. And I think I've heard this from other pastors, 20 years into ministry or whatever too. You kind of finally learn that you have to take care of your own soul, your own personal development, your own passion for Christ. And then you can take care of others. We heard the illustration all the time with, the oxygen mask in an airplane. You got to put your mask on before you help others. But for me, it's more about picturing the Sea of Galilee in Israel and the Dead Sea, where the Dead Sea takes in and just sits there stagnant. And of course, the desert has nothing to give. And so there's no life there. But the Sea of Galilee is taking in all this fresh water and then pouring out through the Jordan River into the entire valley. And it's one of the most vibrant places on earth because it has a perfect balance of taking in and pouring out. And so I've really learned to focus on my faith and my passion for Christ first, my even professional and ministry development. I have to prioritize that, even when there's an urgent list of things that need to get done before the weekend or, for finances or whatever it is. I've learned I have to say no to those things and put myself or my soul first.
Wow. That's good stuff. Hey, let me ask this too. Last thing, because I said that was going to be the last thing, but you're at this stage and you're not even on site yet, but you're doing the work. But other than prayer and cash, what do you guys need as you're finishing up the last, you're planning on moving in about 3 months?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. What's like a couple tangible things that you might need?
Boxes. We're getting ready to pack everything up. But I mean, a car. We're praying for a second car right now. We've only had one car for the last couple of years, and it's a big 12-passenger van. And so gas mileage isn't great. And when I take it somewhere, that leaves Jess and the kids, without a car. So we're praying for, God to provide a second car or a down payment for a car. I think we can handle payments, but we just have to get a down payment, good enough right now with the insurance or the interest rates and everything. And then physically, people that can help with the building. We have to gut so many things at the building and rebuild. And I am mechanically challenged. It is not my skill set. I can see the big picture, but people who have hands and know how to use them, oh man, that's going to be big for us over the next few months there on the ground in Palm Springs.
Great. Hey, we have a new kind of a sponsor. I'm not sure what we're supposed to call them technically, legally, financially, but Community Christian Credit Union is helping sponsor our podcast. But you might want to talk to them about a loan on that building to do some of the work. This is going on the podcast. This is my shout out to them. But you might want to talk to them because I know you're raising money for that, but you might be able to get some sort of loan to do some of the stuff, at least early on. So that's my plug for Community Christian Credit Union. I think it's Christian Community Credit Union. It's CCCU. So
yes.
One of the other.
Yeah, we've been talking to them, just checking accounts and stuff, and they're great to work with.
Yeah, so wonderful. Well, hey, thank you guys for being on. Thanks for telling your story. I'm really excited about what's going to happen in Palm Springs. It's probably rainy there too. Maybe it'll just stay cool as you guys move there. It'll be just nice and cool.
That's why it's waiting. It's for us. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's cool in June. Yes.
Thank you so much for being with us today.
Awesome.
Thanks, JD.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining the Leading Conversations podcast. We hope that you found it both helpful and encouraging. At Excel Leadership Network, our focus is on the church planter rather than the church. If you'd like to find out more about us, visit our webpage at excelnetwork.org. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. See you next time with another Leading Conversation.